everyone, it's me, Rory, and this is going to be the first video on my new YouTube channel. My previous YouTube channel, which was linked to my email address that used my dead name, I was just unable to transfer that channel to my new email address using my new chosen name. So we're kind of restarting. I've also taken a bit of a break because making videos and making content, I wouldn't call it like an intense passion of mine. I like to do it because I like to document for myself, and if I'm going to document for myself, I might as well share that documentation publicly as long as it feels like it's putting, positive energy into the world and not bringing a ton of like negative stuff into my life that's just unnecessary. So we're going to try this again. I have no idea how often I'm going to post, what topics I'm going to cover, anything like that. And I'm far from the only trans creator out there. There's plenty of people out there, but you never know. You might speak to someone. So I am now 7 months on T and 8 weeks tomorrow post top surgery. I am super excited. I wanted that top surgery so bad, and getting it was really rewarding. Um, the process and the wait, it's kind of been like a year-long process of figuring out who to go with, insurance, all that stuff, getting my letter. And anyway, there's been moments of like a lot of anxiety and kind of feeling overwhelmed and pessimistic. And then it's over. Like it happened. I can't believe it. And it all went really smoothly. I had a really positive experience. And now I get to heal, and like that's amazing. So yeah, it's fun to be able to say that, you know, I'm past that point in my journey, and those things on my chest are never coming back, and I could not be happier about that. What else? So in the first 7 months, I wanted to talk about my journey as a whole real quick here, especially since this is the first video, so I kind of missed some of the stuff I talked about previously. I started on gel. I always started on a full, what I consider like a full dose. So when I was on gel, I was doing like 4 pumps of 1% gel every day. And yeah, like I said, some people start with like 1 pump, 2 pumps. Yeah, no, my doctor prescribed me 4 pumps, and that was fine with me. And I started having changes very quickly with that dosage, which was great. The thing I didn't like about it was it really impacted my like the flow of my day. I liked putting the gel on every day because I didn't have to wait a week to like get my next hit of tea or whatever you want to call it. Um, I did not like the fact that I couldn't exercise for a certain amount of time after I put the gel on. I didn't like the fact that I had to worry about contamination with my child or with other people. I um, I didn't like the fact that I kind of had to shower. Like I don't know. Sometimes I would shower in the evening to wash the gel off, and sometimes I wouldn't. Just depended. But it was all during like a colder season of the year as well, and I was really nervous that in the summer the whole thing was just going to become too much. So after I did my first blood work test, I talked to my doctor about switching to injections, and she agreed with writing me a prescription for injections after that first blood work test came back. So I've been on injections for like over 3 months now, and um, it's been going well. The transition for me was like really smooth and easy. I expected to feel the peaks and troughs a lot more intensely, and maybe I have been feeling them. I will caveat all of that by saying that I had the top surgery about a month after I switched to injections, and so my body has just been like through this whirlwind of like changes and recovering from top surgery. I felt very tired, and I do feel like my energy is coming back a little bit from that. So like what I'm saying is I don't really count those like the past 8 weeks as like being able to tell if the injections are consistent. If I'm feeling the peaks and the troughs, the thing I was worried about the most, it doesn't really, it hasn't really affected me, I feel like, in any other noticeable way. So again, I'm just really grateful for that because when I went on T initially, I was pretty nervous about my body just feeling the hormone changes, shifts. I have had a bad experience with my own natural hormones and like how intensely I feel those and it like impacting my quality of life and ability to do certain things. And so I was nervous like adding D into the equation would just make everything even more crazy and uncomfortable. It did not. It actually helped in a lot of ways. And, so yeah, it has been positive to shift to the injections. And I've also learned a lot, quick learning curve with those injections. You know, you do them only once a week, so you don't get to practice every day. But uh, at first, I was just like, I'm fine with needles. Like, I have tattoos. I've had my blood drawn many times. It's not a big deal for me. And the first couple of times I injected, it was like that. Like, it wasn't a big deal. And then all of a sudden, I had a couple times where it kind of hurt, and all of a sudden I started to like feel anxious, like my heart rate would accelerate, and I could kind of get this nervous sweat going. Be like, oh, I gotta go do my injection. Like, oh man. And instead of feeling like, either neutral or excited about it, I was kind of like dreading that, 15 minutes or whatever of like prepping and doing it. And I only say 15 minutes because like, I was like fumbling through everything and I'd have to like check stuff multiple times. And I've already gotten in like a slightly better flow with it. I have like my whole little basket I pull out now instead of everything just being like spread out all over the bathroom, et cetera, et cetera. And I learned, so I had a couple weeks where I was like feeling kind of anxious about it. And then I put some effort into learning, how to do it more properly. And since I've made a few small changes, it's been way easier, way better. And I do intermuscular, so I have a fairly long needle, and I push it in pretty far. And I'm always a little bit sore the day after in the spot that I inject, like almost feels like a sore muscle or something. But other than that, and that goes away pretty quick. Other than that, I don't really have any like bad side effects or anything. So yeah, I'm excited about the shift. It's made my life a lot easier in that like I can exercise after I do the shot, before I can. It's just once a week, so it's not something I have to take time out of my day every day to do. I'm not worried about my kid getting contaminated with it. Yeah, I would say overall, I mean, I just don't have anything bad to say about injections at the moment. I My name shift, which I've like gone through over the last year, went from my like kind of femme, what else we call our dead name or whatever, to like an interim name that just wasn't really working for me, to finally settling on Rory. That's been great. It's still kind of weird to think that like I'm not. I actually think more about like my dead name than I do about the interim name. Um, and, Rory is a super gender neutral name. There's men who are named Rory, there's females who are named Rory. And so, uh, I don't know what that does for me in terms of how people are reading me. I don't really care about that aspect if it, you know, how they're reading me, but I like it. Like, and I've had people say they like it. I've had people say like it suits me better than my dead name. People who know my dead name. So like hearing those things is really encouraging. It's kind of still weird to hear it from like my family because I think there's just there was a lot of years, like over 3 decades, of me being called a certain name, and I didn't dislike my name. I don't dislike my dead name. It's just like so feminine to me, and I'm just not that person, and I'm not the person who can like rock a feminine name as someone who's like, yeah, I'm definitely not a woman. Some people can do that, and like major kudos to them. But anyway, I've got my emails changed over. I haven't gone through the process of like legally changing my name yet. I do know I've done a little bit of research into what that will entail, but I just want to be like super sure before I pursue anything that's like irreversible in that sense. And you know, it's funny when I meet new people too with like pronouns and things like that. Like people will ask, like what pronouns do you want us to use? And uh, I don't know. Ever since I went on T, which was a little while ago now, I've just been like, I don't care what anybody says or calls me or what pronouns they use. Like I just feel good, and like that's all that matters to me. And there's something to be said about that. And also, that doesn't I don't love the fact that like that doesn't do a lot for like the community. Like there's a lot of people who are trans who really do care about what pronouns people use for them. And like, yeah, it's not my job to educate every single person I encounter on like transness, and every trans person's experience is unique. But I do think that like between, me just being like, oh, I just want to avoid confrontation with people, so I don't really care what they call me, and you know, and then also being like, it's important for people to know that there are some people who really do care about what pronouns are used for them. I don't know. Those are all things that like have been, percolating in my mind while I kind of am still in this zone of like, people are going to use whatever pronouns they are used to, see fit, what I've asked for, if they are the type of people who will honor that. Um, and yeah, like I think using non-binary pronouns of like they them has been really good. It's certainly not something where I hear it and I'm like, who are they talking about? Or like, oh, that can't be me. Like I hear it and I'm like, oh yeah, they're referring to me. Like that's great. Um, and uh, and then he him, like that is something that is, it almost feels more weird because like I just know that I'm in this like transitionary period where like I feel a lot more masculine, but I'm like still the same person inside. And like this is what I love about non-binary, is that like I don't have to be like, oh wow, now all of a sudden like I'm just a man and all of that entails, within the understanding too that like there are a vast spectrum of men out there. So um it's just nice to not be have to jump like, oh, I'm in this female box and then I'm gonna have to leap over here to this male box and like that's all there is. You know, again, like it's even with the pronouns, like if people say she, if they say he, if they use they, them, um, like as long as they're being kind and considerate to me, like it's cool. We'll see how that changes. I think it will like solidify in the future of like which pronouns I do feel like most comfortable with. And I tend to interact online and with other trans people as more of like a like trans man or like trans masculine, and less like non-binary. I kind of think of myself more as like a gay trans man. But again, like I can have all those thoughts and ideals for myself, and online it's so different because you're just chatting with people. Um, and then in real life, how it manifests. Like I don't have a lot of gay male friends, so like I don't really feel like when I walk around town, like I give off that vibe yet. Um, yeah, I guess it's all kind of like tied into the pronouns and how that has evolved over the last, not over the last 7 months. That's just the time that I've been on TV. Like over the last, period of time that I've been coming out and acknowledging that like I'm trans and things like that. And call my styling and clothing, like that has continued to evolve. I've grown out of some of the clothes that I had last year, or at least when I put them on, I'm like, ooh, this is a little bit tight, which is fine. And, just prompts me to like get some new clothes. I got some Vans a few months ago and like they're really comfortable for me and I really like them. And so when we were on a trip recently, I went to the Vans outlet and got some more pairs because I just feel like they're really gender affirming for some reason. plenty of women wear Vans as well. So like it's not like they're just like a hyper masculine shoe or anything. But if I was like I think back to my teenage self and like what kind of vibe would I have been giving off, and it definitely um, if I had known like I was trans, and it would have been kind of like somewhere in the like emo punk skater. I mean, I know like goth, I know those are like distinct categories, but I don't know like the nuances of each of them enough to say like where I would have fallen. But like I was already kind of on the fringe of doing that and presenting as female, and I just didn't have the confidence to like rock it. Um, and I think like had I been like, oh, I'm transitioning to male, like who do I want to be? Like that is who I would have been. Anyway, it's exciting to have those bands, is what I'm trying to say. It feels really good to me. So, some of the hardest things about being on T in the first 7 months have been fatigue. It's just been like, it just doesn't stop. And it's hard to sparse out whether it's like the T or whether it's my life, because I have a child who is now has moved out of toddlerhood and is now in early childhood years. But that's still like an exhausting time for me as a parent. And then there's the tea on top of it. And then there's the fact that I am someone who likes to exercise. So there's kind of all these factors. And what I'll say is like, I just feel tired a lot, even though I don't really feel like I'm like pushing myself that hard, especially in exercising. And it was even more pronounced like post top surgery, which is totally expected and explainable. And like I said, recently, the past week or so, I've really been able to feel like some of my energy come back, which is really nice. But that's been just a little bit hard. A lot of people talk about going on T and how much energy they have, and I always want to say first, how old is that person? Because I'm over 35, and so like in my just lifespan, take T out of the equation, I'm more in the like starting to feel tired as like an adult, into my adult years versus like having that youthful energy. And then now I'm putting my body through second puberty. And, everyone says, like, well, think about teenage boys and like how much they sleep and all that stuff, because like your body's growing a lot of muscle and doing whatever other changes it's doing. And that's hard. So it's even harder on an older body than it is on a youthful body. And another thing that's been hard has just been like coming out. I mean, I kind of try to avoid it for the most part. Like, if people ask me directly, of course, I'm like super upfront, honest about it. And I also feel like I walk around looking pretty visibly trans. You know, again, how people assess me themselves is going to be more about them than about me. And so, whether they look at me and they see like a really masculine woman, or they look at me and see a kind of feminine guy, like that's a lot. That's not in my control. It will never be in my control, no matter what. So, you know, I consider myself visibly trans because I just know that T is having an impact on my physical appearance. It's having an impact on my voice. And I, am still walking through the world. So that's how I consider myself visibly trans. And then coming out to new people I meet, like, or it's mostly been coming out to people I knew before, and then new people I meet, like I have to assess that situation and be like, when am I going to be transparent with this person? Am I going to be transparent with this person? Do I even have to be? Because I do feel like some people you meet and it's like they're, especially if you're kind of in the queer community, like they're just already cued in, like you don't need to come out to them, they just accept you as you are, which is lovely. But that's been hard, a hard part of the process for me. Um, how my partner views me has been hard. It hasn't been like so far our relationship is great, and like it's been able to, we've been able to adjust, and we've been really open in our communication, and we're just, taking everything like 1 month at a time or whatever. But in the past, I did feel like I could like go out of my way to kind of put effort into my appearance in a way that was like pleasing to him. And I don't feel like I can do that anymore. I can do things in such a way that they're pleasing to me. And ultimately, like if I was talking to a different person like you or, a friend or whatever, I would say like it's far more important to feel good about who you are yourself and to be pleasing yourself than it is to be pleasing other people. One, because you might think you're pleasing other people, but you really aren't, and that's not within your control. Whether or not you please someone just isn't within your control. And two, you're the one who has to live with you for the rest of your life. So, and from hour to hour, like I exist with me all the time. I exist in tandem with my partner when we're together, or when there's a situation that arises that like causes me to be associated with him or whatever. So I feel really good about the fact that he's been able to support me, that he's open minded enough to like think about himself and broaden his own, you know, view of his own like heteronormativity kind of biases. And that's been really good. And it's also hard. It's just hard to know that like the person you are in a long term relationship with might not find you as attractive as they once did. And the funny thing about that is like this is what we talk about frequently is like that is something that can happen regardless of one partner or both or whatever, one partner usually coming out as trans. Like that is just life. Like our bodies have aged, our bodies have changed from when we were younger, and like yeah, it's not going to stop. So I think for him, he gets a lot of peace out of the fact that like while I'm becoming more masculine in how I look, it's it's just an unexpected way that like I'm changing, right? Like he might have expected me to age in a feminine way, and now I'm going to be aging in a masculine way. And like what does that mean? Is it something he can continue to, find attractive? And um but like it's not so far out there that it's just like inconceivable because people change, bodies change, we soften, we go through periods where we can dedicate ourselves to exercise and periods where we are more stagnant, and that's going to have an impact on our body if you're someone who really is attracted to a very athletic type of body. So anyway, I think that like the whole transitioning with a partner is hard. It's scary to transition without a partner. You wonder if like someone will ever find you attractive again. I wonder if my partner will continue to find me attractive. Like there's always an element of fear in how other people are going to respond to your transition. But um, on the whole, again, it's been really positive, and I've felt very supported and very seen, and we've been good at communicating with each other. But I do think like the hardness comes from being like, I can't, there's nothing I can do. Like, there's literally nothing I can do where I can look the way I used to look. Um, Now that top surgery has happened and my voice is different and things like that, like, there's nothing I can do to look that way again. And that like he might have really liked that version of me, but I didn't like that version of me. And I guess that's like where the important distinction comes in. The fact that he can continue to be open minded and adjust to a new version of me means a lot. Also, the lack of community has been kind of challenging, like since becoming more visibly trans, wanting to have more, queer, gay, trans friends. We live in a tiny town and there's just not a lot of population here. And then yeah, that in real life connection has been challenging to not have. It's kind of also like I don't really have anyone to like model, to um emulate. Not that like life is all about emulation, but that is how we learn. Like we don't learn a lot of stuff isn't learned because like you just epiphanized it or had like an epiphany yourself of like, oh, this is exactly how you dress and act like a gay man. Like I don't know how to do that unless I'm around other gay men, and like I don't have that in my life. So that's been hard. And then just, having other trans people to talk to and have that community with in real life versus just online, that is hard. Like I have a friend here and a friend there, but like there's not a big cohesive group of people. And like I'm talking big cohesive group of like less than 10 people would be like my ideal situation, but it's more like I have one non-binary friend, one gay, male friend, and like that's the extent of that. So I'm trying to get, more into the small queer community in my town. I definitely go to like events and stuff. There just hasn't been anyone who like individually I connect with in a way that's like, ah, yes, like we are now going to be friends apart from like these two people who I've already mentioned. Um, and both of them are actually going to be leaving town within the next few months. So it's just a little bit sad for me, but it's okay. I still have friends from before transition. Um, and I will continue to meet people as time passes. The best things about being on T for these past 7 months have been the changes. Like I just love the changes. I love my leg hair has like thickened up and become denser, and that's so exciting for me. Also, my arm hair is noticeably like longer, darker, and denser, but I don't think it's quite even like at where it's going to be in the future. I have almost no facial hair changes that I can tell, and like that's not that big of a deal to me at the moment. But my voice, has changed. My physique has changed. Like I feel stronger and more muscular. My partner has like commented on like the circumference of my arms has like significantly increased. I used to be like have pretty thin arms, and now they're bulkier, and and then like broadening of like, like your chest to back ratio, where that might have been like more narrow in the past, is now like thicker. And like I mean, I know that happened because I had some binders prior to top surgery that were quite new that I bought that they fit barely. And then a couple a couple of weeks it felt like, but it was probably more like a couple months on T, didn't fit anymore. They were so tight around my rib cage. So I know for a fact that like I have experienced like some of those physical changes, and there's more to come. I don't feel like I've like gained like that, oh, broad shouldered, narrow waist physique yet. And who knows if I ever will, but like my abs, like they might not be super visible, but they are defined underneath the extra that's like on my tummy. And that feels really cool and really good. Obviously, the changes from top surgery have been fabulous, like having a flat chest, being able to not wear a bra, not feeling that bounce. Oh my gosh, my chest bouncing was extremely dysphoric for me, or caused me to have a lot of dysphoria. Looking in the mirror after I get out of the shower and like not seeing like my female chest, it's all just amazing. Yeah, I can't I can't really say I have any. I have nothing bad as a result of like top surgery specifically. And I really don't have anything that I've experienced that's like bad physically from tea either. The voice change has been weird. And I knew that it would be. I went in knowing that like voice change was something I was kind of like, I wasn't nervous about, but I was more neutral. And like, I just didn't know what it would feel like. And I think it's because it's like a transition, that's what's hard about it. If it was, it would also be hard to like go overnight from like having a very feminine voice to having a deeper male voice. Like that would be a huge kind of shock. But I think the fact that like my voice is like very slowly changing and I don't know where it's going to settle, that's what's kind of the weirdest thing about the voice situation. Because I definitely watch videos and I hear like other trans, like my non-binary friend who is on T, they speak And for a while, like I just wanted to see them because I just loved hearing their voice so much. So like I'm not afraid of having a deep voice. I love hearing trans men talk, and I also know that everybody's voice reacts different to tea. Some people get a big voice drop and some people don't, and I didn't know where I would fall on that spectrum. So I definitely know my voice has dropped in a way that feels significant to me already, and it will probably continue to do so. I think what's hard about the voice is maybe the other people part. So like I talk to, my sister, or I talk to my partner, and I talk to my parents and my child, and like they're used to my old voice, and it feels like my new voice, which is something that I am very much okay with. It's like it brings it all up into question of like, oh, do I really like this? Do they like it? Is it okay? It's all has to do with like those interactions with other people, and not those moments where it's just like, oh, it's just me. Like, yeah, it's fine. So, um, what else? I just feel so much more at peace with my body and my mind. My mind calmed very quickly after going on tea, and that was a really wonderful thing to experience. And it immediately made me feel very anxious about ever losing access to tea, because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to go back to like my mind the way it was before. And I've kind of almost forgotten like what did it feel like to have an estrogen dominant mind, because now I have a testosterone dominant mind, and I like it so much better. And I just think I feel so much more at peace with my body. I was thinking the other day, I looked down at my legs, happened to be wearing Vans, so that was exciting. Looked down at my feet and was like, oh, I love those shoes. But I looked down at my legs and was like, wow, the difference now, looking, from like the top down for myself, like tipping my head down and looking at my legs, the difference now versus when I was presenting as female for decades is like, it's just, I can't even describe the difference. I used to look down at my legs and just think like, I just would cringe, or I would just internally be like, I don't like my legs. Those, they don't look right to me. Like, and I've always been an athlete. I have been fit. I I have no logical reason apart from the fact that maybe I'm not like 5'10" and like a model, like a model physique where I'm just like super willowy. I've never had a real reason to like dislike my legs. And I also have appreciated the fact that like they've been able to do a lot of physical feats for me that are pretty incredible. That being said, I've always hated them. And now I look down at them and I don't, it's like, not only do I not hate them, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe those are my legs. Like, that's so exciting. And I feel like the hair that has come in on my legs, especially like upper legs, and then just the thickening of like the hair on my lower legs. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is how I'm supposed to be. Like, this is so exciting. And that's even in comparison to just like being someone who stopped shaving and being like, oh, I'm just going to like embrace my body hair, like whatever. It's like, well, I did that, and then it was like, well, I wish there was more. Like, is this really all there is? Like, and I have dark hair, like I've, in the past, like I said, I don't like stubble, but I've also been conscientious of like, I don't want other people to like see my leg stubble or whatever. And now I'm like, and then when I grew it out, I was like, is this it? Like, this is as good as, this is as good as my body can do without, you know, being on testosterone. So yeah, now that I just feel, like I said, so much more at peace. The things that I knew going in on tea, there was going to be things that like were out of my control. A lot of things out of my control in terms of how my body responded. And I had to be okay with my body responding in the way that it did. And um, that's not to say that like things won't, like if I start losing my hair, that wouldn't be hard for me, or that I would just be like, well, I guess this is just something we all have to embrace because like, whatever, it just is what it is. Like, no, that's not exactly how that would work. But I did have to be like, I don't know exactly what he's going to do to me. And that has to be okay with me. There can't be like this ideal of like, well, I'm trying to reach this ideal. Like, I don't know if I would be able to reach said ideal, just like if I had been cis and was like, oh, I'm trying to reach a feminine ideal for myself, like that's not real. Like we can all be striving towards an ideal, and like only a small fraction of people are going to reach it. So the piece that I feel is just it's very internal, and it's just a very much of like me and my relationship to my body, and moving through the world and touching my, looking at my own body and interacting with my own body and touching my own body. Like it feels so much more, it just feels better, more at home, more, my mind feels more calm. Like all of it is, yeah, it's all a positive in that regard. I think something that I've been thinking about recently, I go through ebbs and flows, is like patience versus wanting results really quickly. And I've had a lot of changes, and I do feel like they've happened pretty quickly. When I see people talk about, like, I haven't had any changes and I'm, 4 months on T or 7 months on T or a year on T, and they don't feel like they've had any changes, like, that is not me at all. I started feeling like I was having changes really early, and I I have felt like those changes have continued. And at the same time, like it's important to remember that this isn't the final. Like where I am today is not the final product, quote unquote, of what testosterone and my top surgery like will do for my body. Like my top surgery is going to take years to recover fully from. Like what are my scars going to look like in 3 months? What are my scars going to look like in 3 years? Like it's a process, and you have to be patient. Testosterone is like the same thing. Like, do I wish my voice would jump to where it's going to settle and just be there? Yeah, because it's weird being in this like in between phase, but like you just have to be patient. And so I've been reminding myself of that, that like it's good. It's good that these things happen slowly, and and enjoy the process, right? Like don't sit there and be like, oh, I wish, and always be thinking about the future or what may come to pass, because you don't even know if it will come to pass for you. And enjoy the fact that like I just try to be grateful for the changes that I've had, for the changes that have made me feel more at home in my body and more at peace and less at war with myself. I feel like I was at war with myself for decades, and I just don't feel at war with myself anymore, and that's a really beautiful, wonderful place to be. Um, and so, I think I can endure the prolonged wait period of, all these changes finalizing. Like I said, I have like no facial hair changes that I can tell. I also don't let it grow out. I like shave it every morning with a like one of those aluminum electric razors, just because that's for me like the easiest way to like maintain a look that I feel confident in. And and so like I don't know when I'll notice that like if anything has changed. And I know eventually I will have to start shaving like with like a razor, or I will have to like embrace having like facial stubble or whatever. But yeah, it's like I haven't had any changes in that department yet. And, like I'm still curious to see like how I will feel about that when it arises, when it does happen, if it happens again. Um, but I've just been patient, trying to be patient and being like, it will happen when it happens. It doesn't have to happen all at once. I think I'm going to wrap it up there for today. Thanks so much for watching. Sorry this was so long. I don't intend every video to be this long. And I hope to be posting more interesting content in the future, but it's all about my motivation and the capacity I have to actually do it. So we'll see. All right. Bye.